Good afternoon. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim Bako. I'm from the International Relations Department at Bayes University. Um, Thank you very much for this. Your Excellency, I really appreciate your articulation of where we are presently in this time of uncertainty. History tells us that preceding most cataclysms in the past, we have dealt with economic issues where depression and markets have tanked. Do you find us at such a position again in coming up with the whole tariff wars and everything? And how can we, Nigeria and of course Africa, proof ourselves against any coming depression and the great powers war that we find ourselves in the middle of on the continent? Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for the insightful topic on Nigeria's foreign policy at a time of global uncertainty. I am Obodoyin Amaka, a doctor of peace and conflict resolution. I teach at now University of Nigeria. My question is centered around security and stability and regional stability. How can Nigeria's foreign policy effectively address transnational security threats like terrorism, border crimes and trafficking, human trafficking, to ensure regional stability in West Africa, considering our country's current security challenges and economic constraints?
Okay. I'll take Dr. Davu. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister and Agora Policy. My question is on the methods, non-traditional methods of diplomacy. You've listed out your action plan, as it were. Increasingly, we're seeing the influence of foreign countries, as it were, in very soft ways that are the outcome of which is significant to Nigeria. As an example, there is a concern that the region, especially the Sahelian region, would emerge as a theater of warfare between some global powers. And a lot of this is being done on the social media platform. So my question to you is, what are you doing in the ministry to activate such capacities, not just to take note of these developments, but then to counter them? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. After this, we'll take the last set from here, then we'll bring it to a close.
Okay, so the first Yusuf's question, Yusuf Bago, the tariff wars and how we can prove ourselves, safeguard ourselves from the upheavals that come with it. I think for the most part, for now, I would say we should count ourselves as being lucky, because there are certain things that we did not do. At some point, maybe they were considered to be setbacks or would put us at a disadvantage. For instance, Nigeria is the only country, I believe, okay, maybe there's one other country in our region that did not sign on to the ECOWAS EU Economic Partnership Agreement. And of course, now with the tariffs and again, I would add the return of the nation states with vengeance. Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise, because our argument when we refuse to sign the Economic Partnership Agreement is to say that, look, this is an anachronistic 20th century agreement. What we're looking for is a 21st century agreement, modeled more on the sort of free trade area arrangement, so that we are looking at protecting intellectual property. We're looking at copyright laws. And then we're looking at also the dispute settlement mechanisms. Of course, the gold standard is the World Trade Organization dispute settlement mechanism. So this, I guess, is going to insulate us from some of these upheavals. Then when you look at what we never really relied heavily on development aid. So in fact, I know that as an ambassador, some countries used to be quite upset with us for not paying enough attention to what really on this Nigerian scale I would refer to as hygiene money. Because if you're looking to give Nigeria $10 million, $20 million as contribution for its agricultural sector, who is going to feel the effects of that? And then, so it's, of course, we always appreciate the support that we get from our partners, but what we want is for a lot of these activities to be domesticated. So that's why the development D, we're focusing on agricultural production, so that we grow our GDP there. We're talking about manufacturing, which has a wider supply and value chain, a longer one than agriculture. We are talking about infrastructure, so that we will be able to achieve double-digit growth. So that, I think, is again something that we have to focus on our comparative advantage, which is why we always talk about gas. We refuse to accept gas as a pollutant, to say that we said it's a transition fuel, it has to be used. That's why we're talking about all these pipelines, transatlantic gas pipeline, African Atlantic, and so forth. So I think we'll do well there. We have already bridged the gap that was created with the absence of PEPFAR, for instance, that was providing medication for AIDS victims, TB, and so forth. Our concern now is how to help smaller, less privileged African countries, and we're working with that. And then you have the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is relying heavily on Nigeria and its performance. It's Nigerian banks that are driving a lot of it. Things that we take for granted here in Nigeria, interbank settlement system, I keep repeating, it's a very, very important infrastructure that others, would envy. So, Dr. Nnamaka talked about transnational security threats and transnationalism, border crime. Well, internally, Nigeria has some of the mechanisms that would provide the panacea for this. We have, for instance, the Border Communities Development Agency. It's just not being applied the way it should be. It came out of well thought out ideas, from the National Boundary Commission, because those cross-border areas are very important. This is where a lot of the criminal gangs and criminal activity goes to incubate, and then it becomes a big problem. And that's where, as I've said oftentimes, where sovereignty is also at its weakest, because it's where identities overlap. So we need to do a lot of work in those areas, so that we begin to also plan seamlessly. If you look at the European Union and the mechanism they have for planning for infrastructure, which is almost seamless. That's why sometimes you drive across their borders, you don't see any difference. It's coming from the planning of Interreg. So we need to do such things. We have the African Union Border Program. We have another ECOWAS border initiative, but that's not enough. And that's where Nigeria needs to lead. And with regards to also strengthening democracy. That's why we have come up with the Regional Partnership for Democracy in-house, and we're partnering with UNDP. We're looking for other partners to say, look, how do we strengthen democratic institutions? How do we work with civil society, our own brand of civil society? Because it's not, I don't know, maybe Dr. Hussein Abdul might disagree with me, but, so we need to do all of this. Misinformation, disinformation, huge threat for us. We need to tackle it also in a very sort of well thought out approach. Non-traditional methods of diplomacy. I didn't quite understand the question, to be honest. So if you don't mind just repeating it so that I have a better understanding of it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Let me just confess, I forgot.
And apologies for bombarding you with so many questions. Yeah. So I was talking about the influence of non-traditional methods of diplomacy, especially in today's world where you have, I would say, platforms on social media as an example that play a huge role in shaping the outcomes of certain policies. So my question is, on the one hand, what mechanisms, instruments do you have within the ministry for capturing and taking note of such developments, and then more importantly for countering them?
Okay, can we take the last set of questions so that I just answer everything together? Right. Okay. In Dr. Yakubu. Yeah.
First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Yugoslav. I'm a career diplomat coming from former Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Now I'm a diplomat of Republic of Serbia. I'm professor doctor of university in Belgrade. I'm still 15 months in capacity of charge d'affaires. So many countries here has those politics. You also provoked me about voice of Nigeria. I think it's not strong, but it's a loud one. Having in mind that Nigeria participated in 51 peacekeeping forces, and my country is also one of the countries that's very grateful, and I'm also using the opportunity to thank. So this is the voice of Nigeria and well known everywhere. Really, this day it happens that His Excellency Minister Tugara spoke with my new re-elected all-new minister. So my question was to Minister Tugara, when we can expect as a Republic of Serbia this historical visit. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Honorable Minister. My question is, my name is Dr. Umar Yakubu, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. Foreign policy is a serious business, and we all know our political culture. So could it be strategic that we maintain the non-appointment of politicians to become ambassadors? Could it be strategic? Could it be better for the country? Because now we have not had ambassadors for 2 years, and I don't think anything has happened or anything has changed. Apart from we don't have ambassadors, in terms of the workings, I don't work at the MFA, I don't know, but nothing has really changed. Sorry, my second question, drawing from Dr. Kabiru's question, what are we doing about our image, abroad? Unfortunately, our image is unfortunately very bad out there. Is there anything the MFA is doing, maybe drawing from non-traditional methods to see how we can improve them? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Well done. Okay. Last question.
So, thank you very much. My name is Abdurrahman Abu Amisu. I'm from the Department of Political Science and International Relations, University of Abuja. I want to thank Agora Policy for this very particular program. Excellency, thank you for your wonderful insight, especially the issue of strategic independence. Let me start with the theme of discussion. I have a problem with this global uncertainty because I believe that there is no global uncertainty. What we're witnessing are actors that feel that the current global framework is not serving their interests and they are willing to do everything to destroy it. A case in point is the tariff war. We have a country that has spent the most part of its existence forcing nations to open up their countries in the name of free trade. And the same country today is imposing tariff war up to 245%. Who does that? But again, I don't fault them because they are looking out for themselves. And that really aligns with what Excellency said about strategic independence, strategic autonomy. There is always a point where you need to call a bluff of any other interest that is not serving your interest. And the same thing is happening in those countries where we have democratic reversal. You see, my older brother, Dr. Hussein Abdu, made a very fantastic point where he talked about the decomposition of the state. And let us ask, under what order is the state decomposing? There is unfinished business. And that business is what is giving rise to all the things my other brother pointed out, and some other persons that talked about insecurity in Nigeria. We're told in the textbooks that democracy promotes peace, stability, and development. But we realize that over the period of the time that we operated liberal democracy in Nigeria, we witnessed more conflict.
Prof, it's like you're dreaming your own paper now.
Now, coming to the point, my brother was a platform. Yes, I'm coming to a certain conclusion, which is the need to balance the need for order and freedom. And we are not having that conversation in Nigeria. And I like the point His Excellency made by saying that the state is back. And if the state is back forcefully at whose expense? Because we are craving for freedom, a freedom that is equally leading to the crisis we are seeing today, and the state coming back. Also, at what point are we going?
Very good point, very good presentation, Your Excellency. Thank you. Very good paper, by the way.
So let's go back to the mechanisms being employed by the ministry. In-house, again, we developed that regional partnership for democracy specifically to address these concerns. Misinformation, disinformation, you've got, because the media itself is changing, it's evolving. You have a lot of influencers that have become more powerful than traditional media, and so even regulating media itself has become more problematic, and not everybody is responsible. I don't know if people remember, but you see, even before the unconstitutional change of government, and I'm not one to always subscribe to conspiracy theories. Some of them I find quite interesting, yes, but you will remember that there's appeared to be some kind of social online campaign to create disaffection between Nigeria and Niger before the unconstitutional change, before the military coup. There was so much being churned out about the difference between northern Nigerians and Nigerians. That one was Hausa, the other was Fulani, this and that, and the Sokoto Caliphate, this and that. So these are things sometimes that we take for granted, but perhaps if we had nipped some of these things at the bud, by the time the unconstitutional change of government happened, maybe the sentiment may have been somewhat different in in Niger itself. I still, feel that Nigeria, collectively, majority of Nigerians, felt a certain way. So we're doing that. It's not easy because, of course, you can't do everything in-house, which is why we're looking for those partnerships, and then working um, with other countries, and something that we want to see applied in other countries as well in the region. Then we go to my good friend, the Charge d'Affaires of Serbia. We're visiting soon. As soon as we identify the date that is convenient for both countries, I assure you, we will be visiting, and the relationship is one that we treasure. It goes way back. It goes even back to the Yugoslav era. Energol, Elprom, they played significant roles in building modern Nigeria. And apart from that, we're also working towards reopening our mission in Belgrade. So, Dr. Omar Yakubu, you made a valid point,
Which is
which is that it doesn't mean the fact that we don't have ambassadors does not mean that
or is it emissions? Is it a good look that you don't have ambassadors for 2 years?
I'm coming to that. So it doesn't mean, because
Then we can describe the position.
I'm coming to that. People are under the impression that if there are no ambassadors, there's absolutely nothing happening in our missions. That is not the case. That's the point I'm making. But having said that, as a matter of fact, you even have certain missions where without ambassadors, we cannot participate in certain activities, or we cannot represent in certain important committees, particularly in multilateral missions. So it is important. I'm not saying it's not important, but we have to look at everything holistically. Let's not just think that there are no ambassadors, that's it. We have no foreign policy, nothing is being implemented now. So, of course, we need ambassadors, but let's bear that in mind.
And so when are we getting them?
We have to arrange that interview.
No, I have no
Question.
No, I'm very happy with that update.
Abdurrahman Hamzu asked about the issue of global uncertainty and the whole thing about whether he says that there's no global uncertainty, that it's just the machinations of one country. No, I beg to differ. The world is bigger than any one country. And no country is autarkic or has absolute power. Before before the tariff wars, we had the 2008 global financial meltdown, if you remember. And in fact, that was a turning point. It was a liminal moment, because that was when, if you remember, there was a lot of emphasis on G7, OECD, and some of the leading countries in terms of economic power realized that they could not do it alone. This is when G20 became more relevant, because to tackle the challenges that were created by the 2008 global financial meltdown, you needed to expand it. You needed more countries to come together. And that's when we had the G20. So we've been having different crises, and it wasn't created by one country. We had the COVID pandemic. So let's not attribute it to one country. We also have to take into consideration the international system the way it is. And for the international relations scholars in the room, the distribution of power is always a factor within the international system. That's why we keep talking about bipolar, multipolar, even unipolar, and all of that. Distribution of power is key, and that sometimes is what leads to conflict, leads to wars. The field of study, the corpus that is referred to as international relations was created out of the effort to find ways to stop wars from happening. So that distribution of power is realpolitik quite often, and we cannot just assume that the global system is not an anarchic one. It is. It's competition. Everybody looks out for themselves. Yes, we group together and we work together, but at the same time, everybody is looking out for their national interests. So if you go to sleep thinking that, oh no, everything is hunky-dory and then we'll all live happily ever after, that is not the way the international system works. But of course, we will continue to collaborate, and that's why we have all these treaties. We have multinational organizations to try as much as possible to collaborate.
Okay, thank you so much, Your Excellency. To bring this to, sorry, I don't think we can take questions again, but this conversation has to continue. On behalf of all of you and the board, management and staff of Agora Policy, I want to thank His Excellency, the Honorable Minister, for obliging us these 2 very fruitful hours. And I think I speak your mind when I say that, it's been a really, really insightful and engaging session.